He could not be much older than you, however. I think something less than 10 years your senior would be ideal. We would have to know where he came from, and his family would have to be at least as good as yours. He would have to be about 180 centimeters tall, well-built, and of course healthy. It would be wonderful if he were intelligent, but only if it did not give him a big head. It should simply make him quick-witted and adaptable. He would tackle difficult situations, never giving up and never losing hope. He would help the helpless and never simply resort to violence for its own sake. Hopefully he would be halfway good-looking, but the most important thing would be what is inside. I would much rather he be innocent and naive than a womanizer. He should be tolerant, not restrictive, and humble in all things. That is most important of all. Does a man like that even exist? Yao asked. She thought perhaps NN was setting the bar a bit too high. He must be out there. You only have to look. Yao wasn't convinced. She thought NN didn't want her to get married and was deliberately setting an impossible standard. Still, Yao herself didn't want to get married while she was still learning her trade. If anything, she thought it would be perfect if NN would find someone who would bear children in Yao's place. And another thing, that's not my ideal, that's yours, isn't it, NN? Yes, of course your husband will become my master as well, Lady Yao. I'm simply telling you about my ideal master. NN dished some congee into a bowl and set it in front of Yao. Well, if we do find a man like that, maybe you can marry him then. Yao was just taking a sip of congee when they heard a voice in the distance. Is anyone home? It sounded like a young man. Laharan, are you here or what? Whoever it was, he was looking for Lahan. Master Lahan isn't back yet, is he? Yao said. The estate did not have many servants to begin with, and by this hour there were even fewer. Samphon had just gone off somewhere. I can't just let you in. Tell me your name, someone challenged him. What, don't you know who I am? The newcomer shouted back. Something was very strange. Curious, Yao put down her spoon. There's no need for you to get involved in this, young mistress, NN said. I'm just going to take a quick look. NN did not look eager to come along, but she also didn't seem like she was going to stop Yao. Instead, she brought some outerwear and placed it over her mistress's shoulders. Meanwhile, the visitor was saying, you must be new here. You ought to have some idea who lives in the house you serve, you know. Sounds to me like a suspicious character trying to talk his way inside. How dare you? At the gate, a man in his 20s was arguing with the door guard. He was on the tall side, well-built, and tanned enough that for a moment Yao thought he must have been a southerner, but his facial features were very much those of someone from the central region. Nothing about his face really distinguished him, but he could still be called handsome in his own way. The commotion had attracted not only Yao, but also Siphon and the other servants, as well as Junji, the boy who had come home with Lahan. What's going on here? Siphon asked. Behind him, Wufan and Liufan stood looking uneasy. There's someone here who claims he's a member of the family and is demanding to be let in, the guard said. Why that's. Junji went toward the guard and the suspicious newcomer. Now you listen, my name is Mr. Lahan's brother, Junji exclaimed. Gah, it's been much too long, Junji said to the suspicious character, ahem, Lahan's brother. What happened to you? I was told you stayed behind in the western capital to take care of some unfinished work. I did stay behind, but it wasn't. Lahan's brother started to trip over his own words. From his name, Yao guessed that the man was, well, Lahan's brother, but the two of them seemed nothing alike. My respect for you runs so deep, Junji said. I heard afterward that the locust swarm did not do more damage than it did because you went all over Isei province sounding the alarm. Without you, Lahan's brother, hundreds of thousands of people might have starved. That is what Mr. Lahan told me. I was speechless. The fact that me and my family are alive today is all thanks to you. Junji looked at Lahan's brother with sparkling eyes. Lahan's brother appeared overpowered by his innocent gaze. Junji, sweetheart, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you introduce me to this person? Oh, of course, Lady Yao, my apologies. This is Mr. Lahan's brother. He is Master Lahan's older brother. Yes, she had gathered that much, but she could not help noticing that Lahan was a master while Lahan's brother warranted only a mister at best. Samphon must have gone to meet this Lahan's brother, and they must have somehow missed each other. You are Master Lahan's honored older brother. The door guard said, looking distinctly unhappy. He had just been treating this man like a complete stranger. I beg your pardon, he knelt in the dirt and bowed his head. If this person was Lahan's older brother, then he too was a member of the La clan. Oh, it's fine, you're fine, I'm used to it by now. Lahan's brother took the guard by the arm and pulled him to his feet. I don't need anyone bowing their head to me. It's my bad for coming home without waiting for someone to come and get me. Really, you don't have to give it another thought. Go back to whatever you were doing. He shooed the guard away, evidently uninterested in meting out any punishment. Pleased to meet you, said Siphon. I'm Siphon, a servant at this house, and behind me are Wufan and Liufan. Samphon went to meet you at the dock, but it seems she was too late. I can't apologize enough. You don't have to apologize at all, really. It wasn't that far. It's been so long since I was back in the royal capital that I appreciated the walk. The walk. It is quite a distance from the port to the house. Ah, but paved roads make everything so easy, don't they? Are you not tired, sir? It was fine exercise. Goodness knows I didn't have anything to do on the ship. Apparently, despite being a member of the La clan, he was the outdoorsy type. Yao pondered what to do, then took a step forward. Self-introductions, she was convinced, were an important place to start. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. My name is Lu Yao, and this household has been showing me its hospitality. This young lady with me is Enen. Oh, said Lahan's brother. He seemed shaken when he looked at Yao and Enen. Might I ask your name, sir? Yao said. It seemed altogether too rude to go around calling him Lahan's brother. Some might say it was forward of a woman to ask a gentleman's name, but Yao was a woman with a job. She didn't survive by being passive and receptive. Ahem. Well, I'm Lahan's brother, sounded lost again. He kept shooting glances at Junji, who continued to regard him with a shine in his eyes. You can just call me Lahan's brother. Lahan's brother, Yao repeated. Ahem, yes, I am the brother of Lahan, ergo Lahan's brother. He looked toward the setting sun, and his eyes were clear, filled with what might have been enlightenment or might have been sheer resignation. He was certainly unusual enough to be a La clan member, Yao thought. She also thought, although she didn't say, that Lahan's brother was very close to Enen's ideal master. Chapter 14, Arduke's Truth. The voice of a rambunctious boy echoed around Arduke's palace. A lady-in-waiting chased him as he raced back and forth around the huge pavilion. Slow down, that's dangerous. Don't wanna. The boy stuck out his tongue and roundly ignored the serving woman. In his failure to look where he was going, however, he ran smack into Arduo. Oh. Lady Arduo, the lady-in-waiting said, bowing her head apologetically. All the women had been with Arduo since her time in the rear palace, and that helped everything go smoothly. Ha ha ha, you're looking lively. Just make sure you watch where you are going next time, she said, helping the little boy to his feet. Sorry, Lady Arduo, the boy said. Another boy came up and tugged on her hand. Lady Arduo, do you want to play hide and seek? Afraid I cannot today. I have a visitor coming. She mussed the child's hair, then did the same to all the other kids. The children at Arduo's palace were all survivors of the Shi clan. Yue, the Moon Prince, had asked her to give them a safe haven. They still did not know what had happened to their parents. Arduo went out of her way not to tell them. The sharper children had figured out on their own that they should keep it to themselves, and the younger ones had forgotten their parents. They all had to forget that they were ever members of the Shi clan. If they ever proclaimed that they were, then they might well be headed for the gallows, no matter how Arduo or Yue tried to protect them. A slim youth approached. Now let's stay out of Lady Arduo's way. Come over here. This person was handsome enough to make young ladies swoon, but she was not a man. Will you take care of them, Sway? Of course, milady. Suhari was another Shi clan survivor, and she was also the granddaughter of the former emperor. She too had been given harbour at Arduo's residence because officially she could not exist. Suhari was clever and a clear thinker, and she knew much about medicine. It was a waste, Arduo thought, for such a distinguished person to languish in this pavilion, but there was no choice. Suhari could live in hiding, or she could not live at all. Ah yes, Arduo said, Maomao's coming. You don't want to see her, Sway. Arduo had sent Maomao a letter. Maomao had responded and was on her way. Maomao, Suhari paused. I don't think I will. And you looked like such good friends on our trip. When she'd gone to the western capital, Arduo had induced Suhari to come along. She and Maomao had even ended up treating a wounded man together. It's only your imagination, I'm sure. Suhari took some of the children by the hand. It's a shame when she's one of the few people you can actually talk to. Very few knew about Suhari. Outwardly, her existence was not even acknowledged. If you didn't talk to people when you could, meet them when you could, you would gradually be forgotten. I won't be around forever, Arduo mumbled, scratching the back of her head. Then she went inside. Maomao showed up right on time. The reason it had taken her a while to make it over after sending her letter was presumably because, unlike the retired and hidden Arduo, Maomao was quite busy. Lady Arduo, Maomao said, it's been a long time. Yes, quite a long time, chirped Chu, who was with Maomao. She had been seriously injured in the western capital, but she kept right on smiling just like she always had. It was Chu to whom Duo had entrusted her letter to Maomao. Ha ha ha, sounds like you had a spot of trouble in the west, Duo said. She was reclining on a couch, sipping some juice. She could certainly have had wine available. Maomao would have appreciated it, but considering what they were going to talk about, it didn't seem quite appropriate. A lot happened, said Maomao. Oh yes, quite a lot. Would you like to hear Miss Chu's story, Lady Duo? Chu was being unusually proactive in this conversation. It seemed to spark Maomao's curiosity, for she looked back and forth between the two women. She must have been surprised when she received Duo's letter from none other than Chu. What exactly are you and Miss Chu, Lady Duo? She asked. Considering that I used Chu to deliver my letter to you, surely you at least have an educated guess. Duo took a baked treat from the table and took a bite. It was buttery and smelled lovely. May I take it that you're Miss Chu's real master, milady? Indeed, she had hit the mark. That's right, Duo said. Yes, indeedy, added Chu. His Majesty handed Chu off to me not long after I moved here. And me barely back from giving birth. I show up and they say no, you work somewhere else now. Isn't it just terrible? Chu pretended as if she were weeping. It would explain why you and the Moon Prince never quite seem to be acting in concert, Maomao said. She sighed, but it sounded reasonable to her. If I don't have to explain, so much the better. Duo offered the treats to Chu and Maomao. Chu immediately began to help herself. She was probably welcome to. She had lost the use of her dominant arm because she had faithfully carried out Duo's orders. Her mistress was probably ready to wink at a bit of outrageous face stuffing. You are correct, Chu serves me. Yes, Chu affirmed, wiping some crumbs from the corner of her mouth. Miss Chu was told that Lady Duo's orders rank even above His Majesty's. But all this time you've acted like you're serving the Moon Prince, Maomao said. Feel free to call him Jinchi, I don't mind, Duo said. I call him Yue myself. Maomao looked hard at her. Maybe she had a sense of what Duo was going to say today, and that sense was probably correct. Lady Duo said that my job was to make the Moon Prince happy, Chu said, and Duo nodded. So I did. Maomao remained silent. She hesitated, and Duo knew why. Sometimes even when you were sure about something, you weren't sure it was right to say it. That was why Duo would be the one to give it voice. Chu leaned back in her chair, knowing she had nothing more to contribute. She was normally a very lively presence, but she understood her role. Duo was confident that Chu would tell no one of what she was about to say to Maomao. Why would I order her to do that? Duo began. It's because Yue is my son by birth. As far as Duo could tell, Maomao didn't appear surprised. Instead, she glanced away from Duo, looked at the ground, and then gave a little sigh. She looked like someone who'd been told the answer to a question they wouldn't have asked. From your reaction, I take it you already guessed the connection between me and Yue long ago. I thought it seemed like a possibility. And the possibility that the real imperial younger brother and my son were switched. After a moment, Maomao said yes. It was clear from her expression that she had strongly suspected, but would have preferred not to actually know. Duo had occasionally heard others talk about Yue and Maomao, but now she thought she understood why their relationship wasn't progressing. Maomao seemed to be doing everything she could to pretend it didn't exist. Why would you tell me this, milady? Oh, come now. Every rumor I heard made it sound like things between you and Yue had developed in the western capital. Maomao immediately scowled at Chu. Maomao was clearly the type who didn't like talk of her love life spreading around. Duo knew her pain well. She had often been teased about her relationship with His Majesty, and more than once she had been on the point of strangling one of the other palace women. At the time, Duo had viewed His Majesty as merely a milk sibling and an old friend. She remembered how profoundly unpleasant it had been to endure people's taunts. The frustrating thing was, when it came to other people's romances, she suddenly saw the fun in it. She shook her head. No. It was wrong to do to others something she hadn't enjoyed suffering herself. Yue is quite a handful, if I may say so myself, she said. I'm aware, Maomao said with a distant look. At the same time, he's also, well, a young man. He will likely summon you to his palace soon. Chu gave me that summons along with your letter, Lady Duo. Duo looked at Chu, who whistled innocently. Do you understand what it means to answer that summons? Duo wasn't sure if Yue had called Maomao to his palace because he wished to establish relations between them as a man and a woman. Maybe he just wanted to talk about the weather or ask for her advice on something. But generally, when a man of the nobility called a woman to his personal residence, it was as good as a command to spend the night with him. I come from the pleasure district, Maomao said, heaving a sigh. Yue is not just another trick, Duo cautioned her. The most noble blood in the nation runs in his veins. After a moment, Maomao said, I am more familiar than most with how to avoid pregnancy. I intend to make sure there is nothing to regret afterward. Maomao would always take the realistic perspective. Yue was Arduo's son, so he was the child of the current emperor, not the former one. The difference between His Majesty's younger brother and the reigning emperor's eldest son was immense. The empress's boy was not even 7 years old, but the son of His Majesty's consort was already a young man. From the empress's perspective, she could only pray that nothing happened to His Majesty before her own son reached maturity. Li functioned on a system of hereditary succession. Inheritance usually went to the oldest son. Yue was therefore closest to the throne. Empress Jiuqiu had much foreign blood. Many of the emperor's advisors looked askance at the young prince's red hair. Some also argued to the emperor that he should prefer consort Lihua's son, based on their closer blood relation. In the past, Arduo had conspired with the Empress Dowager to exchange their infants. She could not turn back time. Jinshi would have to live in his false position, not knowing the truth. Arduo could hardly become motherly at this late date. Yet nonetheless she asked Maomao, if something does come of it, would you consider raising the child in secret? In spite of all anti-pregnancy medications and abortifacients, a child would be conceived when a child was meant to be conceived. Might it not be that tens or hundreds of lives could easily be stolen away for that child's sake? Maomao feared that a political war could break out, and if so, wouldn't it be much easier for me alone to pierce my belly with a long needle? A needle? Is that how you usually do abortions in the pleasure district? Do you think it would be better for me to drink quicksilver, be punched in the stomach, or maybe dunk myself in freezing water? Maomao understood. She was not a woman who would fall head over heels for Yue just because of his good looks. She knew the resolve it would take if she accepted his feelings. That was all the more reason Arduo pitied her. That is not the only thing, Arduo said. If you accept Yue's affections, Maomao, you will never be able to leave this country again. Most people in this country cannot leave it. Most of them cannot even leave the land where they live. That is true enough. The life of a Linese woman was decided by the household she was born into. The better a girl's family was, the less free she was to leave her home. Some women spent their entire lives inside the family estate. Nonetheless, Arduo looked into the distance. If I said that someday I would like to leave this land and learn more of the great wide world, would you think me naive? No, ma'am. Maomao shook her head. In far places you will find many things we do not of here. And not just things, words, cultural achievements, as well as medicinal herbs, drugs and methods of treatment. It is only natural. With a different climate and environment come different illnesses. Maomao seemed to grow notably more passionate as she continued. Arduo sensed a kindred interest in foreign lands within this woman. She had been to the western capital twice, which was more travelling than many people did in their entire lives. Her knowledge was certainly broader and deeper than that of most women her age. Heh. My dream ended when I was 14, Arduo said. She thought back to when she had been at liberty. As the daughter of the crown prince's nursemaid, she had been brought up as a milk sibling to the current emperor. Call me Yo, her younger brother had said. The name meant sun. Yue was Yue the moon precisely because he formed a pair with the sun but could never surpass it. Arduo dressed in men's clothing, and she and her little brother snitched snacks together. They climbed trees, occasionally played hooky from their teachers' classes, and laughed when they teased Gaeshun, who was in many ways like an older brother to them. If Arduo had in fact been a boy, perhaps they would still be doing those things now. Arduo had regarded Yo as a friend, but she mustn't forget. He stood at the very top of the nation's hierarchy. Arduo was merely one of his subjects. When she was asked to be his instructor, she could not refuse. She had thought again and again of trying to get out of it, but there was no way she could. Eventually she arrived at a sense of calm resignation. She was his companion on the path, she saw. The emperor was a man who had no freedom, not from the moment he was born. Setting aside the foolish ruler who had forgotten his role, Yo was too smart for that. Only within the walls of the rear palace could he do as he pleased. He knew that when he received the emperor's crown, it would bind him hand and foot his whole life long. To Arduo, Yo was a friend, but to him she was not. She knew there could be no equality between a man and a woman, yet all the same Arduo felt as if her feathers had been plucked. Yes, the members of the royal family lacked freedom from the time of their birth, yet they could also steal the liberty of anyone they chose. Yo hadn't realized this. He had forgotten he stood in the place of the one who steals. He had made Arduo his instructor and made her spend the night with him. Now Arduo was speaking to Maomao, who looked set to walk the same path she herself had. As a mother, perhaps it would have been right for her to encourage her own son's blossoming love, yet her conscience, or perhaps the pity she felt for her memories of her old self, caused her to say, "At this moment, it is still possible for you to escape. I would help you." Maomao looked dubious at that. "Oh, that look," said Arduo. "I still have some modest privilege left, you know. Less than modest, really, but if she stretched she could manage something." It was not Maomao but Chu who responded. Now, wait just a moment. "What, Lady Arduo, I can't square this circle. If you do that I'll never be able to carry out my orders. Didn't you say my job was to make the Moon Prince happy?" Arduo laughed.